Hi there and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to review the financial performance of Binance airdrops, including launchpool and other types of airdrop projects that occurred in September 2024. So as the month draws to a conclusion, it's September 26 right now, I'm basically certain that we're not going to receive any more airdrops in September because, the minimum period of time would be 3 or 4 days for farming, and Binance has already had 2. So I think it's very, very unlikely. We may, of course, see an announcement of another airdrop in September, but it wouldn't pay out until October, in which case I would calculate that in my October income review. So September 2024, let's be honest and not sugarcoat it, it hasn't been a great month. There were 2 projects launched, both of them were on the launch pool. First of all, mid-September we had Catty or Catizen, which is the cat-themed game. It was reasonably successful from my point of view. It only had a 4-day farming period, and to be honest, I didn't have very high hopes for a cat-themed game. It really does strike me that Binance are kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel with some of these projects. But anyway, I was kind of wrong on this one because Catty did exceed my very low expectations. For Catty, I actually had a 0.65% rate of return. Basically, I calculate that by taking the value of my BNB stake at the time that I receive the airdrop, or the time that I sell the airdrop anyway, and I relate that to the proceeds from the airdrop that were received. I don't want to talk about specific sums of money on this channel, I just want to refer to it in terms of percentages. So for Catty, the amount of money that I received was equal to 0.65% of my BNB stake on the Binance platform. I sold Catty, as I usually do, right at the beginning of trading, as close as I can to it anyway. Sometimes it's difficult to get trades placed right at the start, but anyway, I was successful with this one. I sold it for 93 cents, and since then the price has continued to trend down. There's quite a pronounced downtrend. My strategy is always to get out quickly with these things because, with very few exceptions, I don't believe in the projects and I have no desire to hold on to them. Next up we have Hamster Combat, HMSTR is the ticker symbol for that one. This one was less good, both in terms of the return I achieved and also my experience in selling the token. I only managed to sell it with great difficulty around the opening time. The difficulty I met with Hamster Combat was that I just couldn't sell it. The system on Binance just wasn't working. I could see the price information, but whenever I tried to submit my limit sell order, it just said I needed to log in again and log in again and log in again. And I went through like 10 to 15 cycles of having to log in. Sometimes it said the system was overloaded, it couldn't accept the order. Anyway, the effect of this was that at the time that I actually wanted to sell the token, it was priced at basically 1.4 cents, so 0.014. But I was only actually able to sell the token for just barely more than a cent. It was a price of 0.0105 that I eventually got for it. So I was pretty annoyed because that is basically, it's a 20% or so loss. However, we're not dealing with immense sums of money for Hamster Combat, definitely not. It was a pretty poor airdrop, even compared to Catizen, which surprised me because, I didn't think it could really get much worse than Catizen. But this is another project that I have absolutely no faith in. It is another silly game, on Telegram as far as I'm concerned. And the return I got on it was pretty low. It was only 0.24%. It's worth noting that the price of BNB, which is obviously relevant for calculating this percentage, was a little bit higher in the case of Hamster Combat than it was in the case of Catty. I think it was around 570 for Catty, where it was, I think, 596 when we came to sell the Hamster Combat airdrop, but not a dramatic difference. So for the month of September, what kind of rate of return did I achieve? It was actually 0.89%. So basically 0.9% in a month. Now that doesn't sound great, but if you look at it over the course of an entire year, it's a little bit better. If you look at it just as APR rather than APY and don't consider compounding it or anything like that, it works out as 10.68% annualized, which is pretty good. You're not going to get that in a certificate of deposit. You're not going to get that from most dividend stocks. It's reasonable. Now, in addition to that, if you're doing simple earn anyway, you can add another 0.3 or 0.35% for the interest rate that you will receive for, basically having your BNB in lengthy terms like 90-day or 120-day BNB simple earn term locks. So that would take you up to about 11% overall over the course of a year, which is nothing to sneeze at. And I want to emphasize that this is in September 2024, and it's been a shitty month. It's not good, it's been crap. The projects have been dire. I mean, we're really not doing well for project quality. And I've explained previously why I think that is in other videos. The market isn't great at the moment, especially the altcoin market. And I think a lot of founders of decent quality projects don't want to push the button on the launch right now. So Binance are kind of trying to find any project that wants to launch. And as a result, we're seeing these kind of Telegram game app things launch, and they're, not great. Not in my opinion anyway, they're not fantastic. However, they have generated some return, and the return for September is a little bit better than the return for either August or the return for July. So it seems to have turned the corner in some way, and things are possibly on an upward trajectory. We will have to see. Now, if we contrast that with a good month, for example, April 2024, the rate of return there was much more like 5-6%, which is fantastic, which would give you an annualized level of like 50 to 60%. Wonderful, great. Now, those days may well come back, but it depends on a couple of factors. First of all, it depends on the altcoin market turning around. Probably the price of Ethereum has to go up in order for that to happen. Probably Solana too. And just for there to be more interest in alts generally, so that the token price at launch is higher. And also if Binance attracts more launchpool partners or megadrop partners or lists more tokens and there are more hodler airdrops, all of these things can contribute to the amount of income that we would get in a month, because if there are more projects launching, we're going to receive more tokens and we can sell them to generate more returns. It's pretty obvious. Right now in September, we're in a bad month. It's a bad month. And in a bad month, we're still looking at a 10 to 11% annualized return. I mean, it's not tragic, is it? Especially when you consider that the price of BNB has been on pretty much an upward trajectory for most of the year. Just to end this video with a little bit of good news, Binance has announced the creation of a pre-market for launchpool projects. Now what this means is that people who are involved in the farming of launchpool projects and accumulate tokens during the farming period, obviously you can withdraw them, but most people don't because there's nothing you can do with them. You can't sell them on Binance spot market until they actually list. So the idea of the pre-market is to give people the opportunity to sell their tokens if they want to early before their official launch date. And it also gives people the opportunity to accumulate tokens. Perhaps they really believe in the project and they want to get more before the launch. So it's going to be a two-way thing. You have the ability to both buy and sell in the pre-market. It'll be very interesting to see how this works. I think it's particularly advantageous for people who want to maybe kind of guess the price and speculate and set limit orders. At the moment, there's not very much price discovery for some of these tokens. For others, you can look on markets like Whales Pro and it will give you an indication of roughly where it's going to be. So for example, with both Catty and with Hamster Combat, the indication on Whales Pro was pretty accurate, within like 10% of the final listing price. So yeah, Binance having its own pre-market kind of makes markets like Wales Pro more redundant, and you'll get a truer indication of what the listing price is likely to be through that process. I think it's pretty good for people who maybe live in countries where the listing time is not especially convenient. You know, I have a friend that lives in Hawaii, and noon UTC, European time, is not very convenient for him. So I think this is good for him, and for other people who are out with the European time zone or who are just busy at the time that projects tend to go live on Binance spot trading. It's definitely a step in the right direction, and I will explore it and monitor it with interest. So that'll do it for this video. I hope you found the content useful, and I'll see you soon in the next one.